On my daughter's birthday, my parents showed up empty-handed and shrugged. We forgot, like it didn't matter. A week later, my niece was proudly showing off a brand new phone they'd bought without hesitation. I didn't argue, I didn't remind them. I just nodded and stayed quiet. Then I forgot to send the $8,500 I had promised for their renovation. By morning, my phone was flooded with 27 missed calls, panic in every message. And in that moment, they finally understood what it felt like to be forgotten. My name is Shannon, and 3 weeks ago, I made my mother cry so hard she could not breathe. Looking back at the look on her face and the way she gasped for air, I can honestly say that I would do it again in a heartbeat. You might hear that and immediately think I am a monster or a cruel daughter who has lost her way. But before you judge me, let me go back to the beginning so you can understand how we got to this point. Hear me out first, and then you can tell me if I was really the one in the wrong here. My parents, Diane and Robert, have always operated with a very specific set of rules, and those rules always favored my older sister, Megan. From the very first day, Megan was the golden child who could do no wrong. When Megan needed something, she got it brand new, while I was always the one wearing her faded hand-me-downs. Megan wanted ballet lessons, so the family budget was cleared to make it happen. When I asked for the same, I was told we simply could not afford it for both of us. Even our milestones were treated differently. For Megan's graduation party, my parents hired a professional DJ and threw a massive celebration. For mine, I got a grocery store cake and watched my dad grill hot dogs in the pouring rain. I am not here to cry about my childhood, though. I learned early on that if I wanted something, I had to be the one to get it. I grew up, moved out the second I turned 18, and worked my way through community college while holding down jobs. Eventually, I landed a solid position in insurance claims. It is not the most glamorous career in the world, but it pays well, and it provided me with the stability I never felt growing up. I married a good, kind man named Derek, and together we have a daughter, Lily. She recently turned 10 years old, and she is quite literally my entire world. The events that started this entire collapse happened on her 10th birthday. Lily is a planner, and she had been dreaming about this day for months. She wanted a purple and silver theme and did everything herself. She picked the playlist, wrote out the guest list, and even helped me bake her cake. She insisted on chocolate cake with vanilla frosting because, as she put it, why choose one when you can have both? That is just the kind of kid she is. The party was set to start at 2 in the afternoon. Everything was perfect, the decorations were up, and the house felt full of joy. At 2:15, my parents walked through the door. I looked at their hands and felt a familiar sinking sensation. They were empty-handed. No gift, no card, not even a balloon. In that moment, the old version of me took over. I started making excuses for them in my head. I told myself the gift was probably just sitting in their car, or that they were planning to give it to her later when things calmed down. I had been trained my whole life to cover for Diane and Robert, to smooth over their neglect so nobody else had to see it. But the thing about kids is that they always notice. Lily did not say a word during the party. She was a perfect hostess, smiling and playing with her friends. But once the guests left and we were cleaning up in the kitchen, she leaned in and whispered to me. She asked if Grandma and Grandpa had forgotten her present. You know that specific feeling when your heart does not just break, but it cracks? It felt like a windshield that had taken a heavy hit and was one vibration away from shattering into a million pieces. I looked into her eyes and lied. I told her they probably just wanted to give it to her another day to make the celebration last longer. She just nodded, gave me a small smile, and went to her room. A few minutes later, I stood outside her door and heard her crying. I called my mother that night. I kept my voice calm and level because I did not want to fight. I wanted an explanation. I told her that Lily had noticed they did not bring anything and asked if everything was okay. My mother sounded completely indifferent. She told me they just forgot because it had been a busy week, and they would figure something out later. They would figure something out for their only granddaughter's 10th birthday. I said okay and hung up the phone. I tried to tell myself to let it go for the sake of peace. I did not let it go. Exactly 1 week later, I was scrolling through my phone when I saw a post from Megan. It was a photo of her daughter, Addison, beaming while holding a brand new iPhone. The caption read that she was spoiled by the best grandparents ever. It was a new phone for no specific occasion, just because they felt like it. Meanwhile, my daughter had cried herself to sleep on her milestone birthday because they forgot she existed. I stared at that photo for 10 minutes, the heat rising in my chest. Derek walked in and saw the expression on my face. I just turned the screen toward him. He closed his eyes and shook his head slowly. He did not have to say a single word. He knew exactly what was happening. There is an important detail I have not mentioned yet. For the past few months, my parents had been asking me for money. They wanted $8,500 for a kitchen renovation. Here is the kicker. They do not even own the house they live in. The house belongs to my grandmother, Ruthie. She lets them live there rent-free while she travels the world with her new husband, Frank. Ruthie is 74 years old, married a retired pilot, and they have been hitting every continent together. I love that woman. She is the only person in my family who never made me feel like I was in second place. So, my parents wanted me to fund brand new countertops and custom cabinets for a house that was not even theirs. And, because I had been doing well at work, and because I was apparently a fool who never learned my lesson, I had told them yes. I had promised to send the money that coming Monday. But after seeing that photo of Addison with her shiny new phone, I made a decision. I decided to forget. Monday came and went. I did not initiate a transfer, I did not call them, and I did not send a text. I simply forgot the same way they had forgotten Lily's birthday. By Tuesday morning, my phone was blowing up. I had 27 missed calls. My mother had left 6 voicemails, each one sounding more panicked and desperate than the last. My dad sent 4 separate texts, which was unheard of for a man who could barely operate a smartphone. Even Megan called me, which I found incredibly rich. I looked at the notifications, smiled to myself, and set the phone face down on the counter. Derek looked at me and asked if I was really doing this. I told him that since they forgot my daughter's birthday, I simply forgot their money. Things escalated quickly after those 27 calls. My mother did not just stay mad at home, she drove over and showed up at my front door. On Wednesday morning, while I was busy packing Lily's lunch for school, the doorbell rang with a physical aggression. I opened it to find Diane standing there with her arms crossed, looking at me as if I had personally set her house on fire. She did not bother with a greeting. She pushed past me into the kitchen and demanded to know what I was doing and why I had not sent the money yet. No inquiry about my well-being, no apology for the birthday, just a demand for the cash. I leaned back against the counter and told her that I forgot about the renovation money. The look on her face was something I wish I could have captured in a photograph. She was shocked that I could forget such a large sum. I just told her it had been a busy week and she knew how it was. She caught the reference immediately. Those were her exact words to me about Lily. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for water. When she realized she couldn't bully me, she tried to play the victim. She sat at my table and told me they were counting on that money and had already scheduled a contractor to start in 2 weeks. I told her that sounded like a problem she should have considered before showing up empty-handed to her granddaughter's birthday and then buying an iPhone for Addison a week later. The silence in the room was deafening. Then she said something that truly pushed me over the edge. She told me it was different because Megan had asked for the phone, and I had never told them what Lily wanted. So, in her mind, it was my fault. I was expected to provide a shopping list for them to care about my child, while Megan just had to ask and the checkbook opened. I told her Lily is 10 and would have been happy with a card and $20. I told her she didn't forget, she just didn't care enough to remember. That was when the waterworks started. Usually, my mother's tears are her ultimate weapon. I have spent my whole life caving the moment she starts to cry. But this time, it felt different. All I could see was Lily crying behind her bedroom door, and suddenly, my mother's tears didn't mean anything to me at all. She left in a rage, slamming my front door so hard that the wreath fell off the hook. Derek came down and asked if she was gone. I confirmed she was, and so was the money. He just nodded and handed me a cup of coffee. Part of me felt that old familiar sting of guilt, because family has a way of making you feel bad even when they are treating you like garbage. But the drama was far from over. My mother went straight to Megan, and by that afternoon, the golden child was calling me with her sweet, concerned voice, acting like I was the one being unreasonable. She told me I was being cruel by withholding money over a simple birthday gift. I asked her if she knew about the iPhone, and the conversation only got more heated from there. The confrontation with Megan was the breaking point. When I told her that our parents had shown up to Lily's party empty-handed and that it wasn't a mistake but a choice, she didn't even pause. She simply brushed it off, claiming the expensive iPhone was a reward for Addison's grades. I had to ask her since when a 10-year-old needs a high-end smartphone just for doing their schoolwork, but she insisted that wasn't the point. I snapped. I told her the point was that my daughter spent her birthday in tears while her daughter was being showered with luxury, and somehow I was being painted as the villain. In true Megan fashion, she hung up on me the moment the conversation stopped going her way. The aftermath was a cold, suffocating silence from my family. My mother stopped speaking to me entirely. My sister went completely dark. My father, true to form, sent a single, pathetic text message that simply read, "Your mother is very upset. Please fix this." That is Robert in a nutshell. After 35 years of marriage, his only role in the family is to act as a messenger, telling everyone else to fix whatever mess Diane has created so he can go back to his quiet life. But I wasn't in a fixing mood. In fact, I was just getting started, and the money situation had given me a very specific idea. My parents had been obsessing over this kitchen renovation for months. They had picked out every detail, from the custom cabinets to the granite countertops, and they already had a contractor ready to tear the old kitchen apart. The problem was that they were planning all of this for a house they didn't actually own. That house belongs to Grandma Ruthie. You remember Ruthie, the 74-year-old fireball currently seeing the world with her husband, Frank. I hadn't told her about the birthday drama yet because I didn't want to ruin her trip or be the granddaughter who calls to tattle the moment things get difficult. But after that series of insults from my parents and sister, I realized she deserved to know what was happening under her own roof. I called her while she and Frank were in Portugal. She picked up on the second ring, and I could hear the bustle of an airport or train station in the background. I laid it all out for her. I told her about the birthday party, the lack of gifts, the iPhone for Addison, and the way my mother had cornered me in my own kitchen demanding $8,500. Ruthie was silent for a long time, the kind of silence that makes you hold your breath. Then, in a voice that was terrifyingly calm, she asked what they had done to her great-grandbaby. When Ruthie uses that term, it means someone has crossed a line they can never uncross. She told me right then and there not to send them a single cent. She told me she would be home in 4 days, and that she was going to have a very long conversation with my mother. She and Frank rebooked their flights and cut their European vacation short. Frank didn't even complain. He knows better than anyone that when Ruthie is on a mission, you just get out of the way and let her work. I can only imagine the terror my mother felt knowing Ruthie was flying home early. Diane knows exactly who holds the power in that family. Ruthie owns the house, pays the property taxes, and has never charged them a dime in rent. My mother's tone changed instantly. Over the next 2 days, she called me 6 times, her voicemail shifting from righteous anger to pure, unadulterated panic. She was begging me to tell her I hadn't actually called Grandma. I didn't bother responding. She already knew the answer. When Ruthie landed on that Sunday evening, she didn't waste a second. Frank drove her straight from the airport to the house. She didn't go to a hotel to rest, and she didn't even change out of her travel clothes. She marched through the front door with her rolling suitcase still in her hand. I wasn't there to witness it, but Ruthie recounted every detail to me later, and Frank backed her up word for word. My mother was in the living room, and my dad was tucked into his recliner with the TV on when the storm walked in. Ruthie didn't sit down. She stood in the center of the room like a judge and demanded to hear about Lily's birthday. My mother tried to claim that I was blowing things out of proportion, but Ruthie silenced her with a single hand gesture. It is a powerful thing to see a 57-year-old woman silenced by her mother like a child. Ruthie asked point-blank if they had brought a gift for Lily. My dad actually muted the television. That was when they both knew their lives were about to change. When my mother whispered that they bought Addison a phone after forgetting Lily's birthday, Ruthie laid it all out for them. She summarized their cruelty. They ignored one child, spoiled another, and then had the audacity to demand money from the child they neglected to renovate a house they don't even own. My dad sat up straight for the first time in years. My mother started her usual routine of crying, but Ruthie told her flat out that her tears wouldn't work this time. Ruthie gave them 3 non-negotiable conditions. First, the renovation was dead. She had never approved it, and she wasn't going to let them change a single tile in her house. Second, they were to make things right with Lily immediately. And third, the hammer dropped. If she ever heard of them treating my daughter differently than Megan's daughter again, they would be evicted within 30 days. My father tried to say it was extreme, but Ruthie shut him down, telling him that their behavior was what was extreme. After Ruthie left, something happened that I never expected. My father called me. It wasn't a text or a message through my mother. He actually spoke to me and apologized. He admitted they had messed up and that he should have been paying closer attention to how they were treating us. I was stunned. I just thanked him, not knowing what else to say. He told me he was going to make sure things changed. I am going to do better. I do not want to lose my house, but more than that, I do not want to lose you and Lily. I should have said that a long time ago. Those were the words my father spoke into the receiver, and for a moment, the world felt still. It was not a long conversation by any means. Robert is not a man built for long, emotional dialogues or deep reflections, but the few words he managed to say were real. For the first time in my adult life, I felt a physical sensation of something loosening in my chest, a tightness I had carried for so long I had forgotten it was even there. My mother, however, took a bit longer to process the new reality of our family dynamic. 2 full days of silence followed Grandma Ruthie's visit. I spent that time wondering if she was simply furious or if she was off somewhere plotting her next move. Diane does not do quiet, so the absence of her voice felt heavy and ominous. But on Tuesday evening, she showed up at my front door once again. This time, her posture was different. Her arms were not crossed in a defensive line, and her eyes were not burning with indignation. She was holding a gift bag, colored in the exact purple and silver hues Lily had chosen for her party. She asked if she could see Lily. A part of me, the part that was still guarding the memory of my daughter's tears, wanted to say no. I wanted to make her wait and feel the same cold isolation she had forced upon my child. But I realized that this was not about punishing my mother forever. This was about my daughter and her need for a family that actually shows up. I called Lily downstairs. My mother did something I rarely see her do. She knelt. She got down on her level, which at her age is a physical event in itself, and she spoke directly to her granddaughter. She told Lily she was so sorry about her birthday. She admitted she had made a mistake and told Lily that she didn't deserve to be treated that way. She handed her the bag and told her she wanted to take her out that coming weekend, just the 2 of them, to wherever Lily wanted to go. Lily looked up at me, searching for permission. I gave her a small nod, and she threw her arms around my mother. When Lily opened the bag, she found a small charm bracelet with a purple butterfly on it. It wasn't an expensive piece of jewelry, and it certainly wasn't flashy like a brand new iPhone, but Lily put it on immediately. She hasn't taken it off since. When my mother stood up and looked at me, her eyes were red. She admitted that she knew she had been unfair, not just about the birthday, but about many things for a long time. I didn't sugarcoat my response. I told her that she had been unfair. She flinched at the bluntness of it, but I wasn't going to lie to protect her feelings anymore. I told her that I loved her, but watching my daughter cry because of her actions was my absolute breaking point, and I would never allow it to happen again. She didn't argue. She didn't make excuses or launch into a list of why she was the victim. She just said she understood. That was enough for me. It wasn't a perfect movie scene with swelling music and a slow-motion hug, but it was enough to start moving forward. Megan, on the other hand, was a different story. She called me later that week after the news of Ruthie's ultimatum reached her. She was livid, accusing me of being the villain for dragging our grandmother into the middle of a family dispute. I simply told her that I couldn't believe she thought a 10-year-old needed an iPhone while her sister's child deserved nothing. She didn't have a response for that. Megan and I are not best friends right now, and if I am being honest, we might never be again. I have spent my entire life trying to earn a place of equal value in this family, and I am finally done auditioning for a role I should have been given freely. The Saturday following that confrontation, my mom kept her word and took Lily to the aquarium. When they came home, Lily was talking a mile a minute, describing jellyfish and penguins with wide-eyed excitement. She told me all about the stuffed otter her grandma had bought her from the gift shop. Seeing her beam like that was worth every difficult conversation I'd had to have. That night, Grandma Ruthie called me from the road. She asked about her great-grandbaby, and I told her the truth. She was finally happy. Ruthie told me that was all that mattered and reassured me that I had done the right thing. Later that night, Derek and I stood on the porch after Lily had gone to bed. He asked if I really thought things would change for good. I told him I think my parents finally understand the consequences if they don't. He laughed, noting that Ruthie is not a woman anyone wants to cross. And he's right. She doesn't play games. As it stands today, my parents are trying. They are really, truly trying. My dad has called Lily twice this week just to check in on her school day. My mother is currently planning a trip to get Lily's ears pierced next month, something Lily has been begging for. The kitchen renovation has been put on hold indefinitely. For the first time in years, my parents seem more focused on the people in the family than the countertops in the house. I don't think everything is magically fixed. 32 years of blatant favoritism does not just evaporate because of one speech from a grandmother. But it is a start. For the first time, I feel like Lily is being seen as an individual. She isn't the other granddaughter or the second-place choice. She is just Lily. And that is all I ever wanted for her. That is my story. If you have stayed with me until the end, thank you for listening. Getting this off my chest has helped more than I can put into words. If you found some value in my experience, I'd appreciate it if you let me know. If you think I was too harsh on my parents, or perhaps not harsh enough, I want to hear your thoughts. Every perspective matters to me. And if you have ever gone through something similar with your own family, please share your story. Sometimes, just knowing you aren't the only one standing up for your children makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for watching. I mean that from the bottom of my heart.